Alright boys, welcome back to another video. Daily Broncos here. Today we're going to be previewing Sunday's game against the Colts. Just starting off with a quick overview of what happened Sunday. So the Broncos, they picked up a 20-12 victory over the Titans. The defense was phenomenal. The run game was phenomenal. But the passing game was not. Bo Nix threw 2 picks. It was 25 of 40. Just an inefficient game by the passing offense. Courtland Sutton did find the end zone. R.J. Harvey had a 50-yard run. If you take that away, obviously, the run game doesn't look as good. I mean, that's 29 carries for 100 yards. So the offense just has to be better. It has to make the simple throws, and they're going to have to block because the Colts do have a good pass rush. They got Tulatu out of UCLA. They've got Grover Stewart. They've got DeForest Buckner and Kwity Paye and Samson Ebukam. So Denver's offensive line, just like it did the last time these two teams faced off, it's going to have to win up front. And on the flip side of that, the Broncos pass rush versus the Colts O-line. Tanner Bortolini, who's plays center for the Colts, and you look at the right guard of the Colts, of course, talking about Matt Goncalves, they were the #1 ranked duo blocking in week 1. Denver was able to wreak havoc on Cam Ward. He only threw the ball 28 times for 112 yards. He didn't even have a chance. Ward was constantly being flushed out of the pocket or being sent back and taking a sack. He took 6 of them for 50 yards. Can Denver's front dominate the Colts the way that it did against the Titans? That's going to be what I'm keeping an eye on. Obviously, it's very easy to say whoever wins up front wins the game. Like, that's pretty common. But this is one of those instances where that's 100% true. If the Colts are able to get to Bo Nix, it's going to be a long day for the offense. And on the flip side, if the Colts have to deal with constant pressure off of non-blitzes, Daniel Jones, he's not going to be able to do much. Because the reason why Daniel Jones was so productive against the Dolphins, he finished with an 87.5 QBR, is because he had clean pockets throughout the game. And he was able to complete 22 of his 29 passes for 272 yards. And Jones only threw the ball deep down the field like twice. So it wasn't like he was just constantly airing it out. A lot of it was the simple reads, out routes, of course, RPOs and posts. It just wasn't anything crazy. But for Denver, if they're able to get after Daniel Jones, the Colts aren't going to be able to simplify their offense as much. And Jonathan Taylor, he had a big run that ended up not counting because he dropped the ball right before he scored against the Broncos. Is he going to be motivated? Is he going to be ready to go? If you're the Broncos, you certainly want to take JT out of this game and make Daniel Jones beat you as much as possible. Throw into tight windows. I expect Denver to honestly send a lot of pressure at Daniel Jones and make him think quickly and make him be accurate and decisive with the football. It's going to be much different because the Dolphins, they did blitz. They sent a couple of slot pitches. They tried to confuse Jones, but it just didn't work. I think the Broncos are going to have something else coming. And if I'm being completely honest, the Dolphins, they've got a good front, but not as good as the Broncos. I don't think the Broncos are going to really need to blitz just because they like their matchups on the field. They like what they have in Zach Allen and Jonathan Cooper and certainly Nick Menino, who they just gave a massive bag to. Of course, in the secondary, I'm going to be interested to see what Pat Surtain does. Where does he line up on? Is he going to be covering Pittman? Is he going to be covering Pierce? Now he's not going to be in the nickel. I mean, obviously that's going to be McMillan and Barron. Is he going to be on Adonai Mitchell? So it'll be cool just to see who Pat Surtain and which side he sort of lines up on, because that side of the field, Daniel Jones is not going to be looking that way, and it's going to make the Colts a lot more one-dimensional. This is the perfect matchup for Denver. Like, literally, the Colts is the perfect matchup because you have a quarterback who doesn't really think quickly on his feet, who's a game manager, who's playing within the scheme, and the Broncos are going to disrupt that. And then on the flip side, the Colts defense, it's a much different defense than the Broncos saw the last time they played. Of course, the Colts went out there and they got Charvarius Ward. They went out there and they got Cam Bynum. They have a whole new defensive coordinator. The Colts are going to press a lot more, which means Bo Nix is going to have to be locked in. He's going to have to make those tough throws. It's a big test for both quarterbacks, Daniel Jones and Bo Nix. I expect both of them to be pretty efficient, to push the ball down the field. And I want to see more R.J. Harvey. I mean, I can't stress it enough. He ends up going out there and has that big breakaway run. 6 carries is not going to get it done. There's no reason J.K. Dobbins should have 16 carries, 10 more carries than R.J. Harvey. I think the more Harvey, the better for the Broncos. I'm fine with using J.K. Dobbins on third down. Well, actually, I don't know about that because I hate to pick on J.K. Dobbins, but the Broncos, they really do like Tyler Bidet on third down. So I don't know what they're gonna do, but it's not to say Dobbins isn't talented. I just think that Harvey's explosiveness is gonna be key in this game because all it takes is just one cut and he's gone. He's got that breakaway speed as we saw, and he's just a dynamic player. Looking at these two teams facing off, now last season the Broncos won 10 games that were a wild card, the final wild card, that seventh seed. The Colts were a couple behind them. They won 8 games. That game where they met up in Denver was indicative of really who got that final wild card. Now, the Bengals tied the Broncos, but the Broncos had the advantage. This one could honestly determine something late in the season if it ends up coming down to it. Because I think Denver is going to be anywhere from 10 to 11 wins, even though they did, they won week one. For a second, I was thinking of the Chiefs. I was like, even though they started off 0-1, that's the Chiefs. I don't know why. I just thought of that. The Colts are 1-0. The Broncos are 1-0. They're two teams that are probably going to be around 10, 11 wins. The Colts have an easy schedule, and the Texans aren't that special. So like, it's not like the Texans are an amazing it's not like the Texans are this incredible like superpower team, right? The Colts could easily win their division, which means they'd have to get 10 or 11 wins. I think the Broncos are kind of in the same boat. They'll be around there. So both these teams, if it doesn't end up happening and one of them is going for the wild card, they want to have that tiebreaker. Not only that, but then you have another win in the conference. It's just all these games really matter, and there's a big difference between 2-0 and 1-1. Now 1-1, it's kind of disappointing. I feel like you let an opportunity get away from you. But if you're 2-0, it's a perfect start. You feel great, and you look at the Broncos' schedule after the Colts. I'm gonna go ahead and pull it up for you guys because it's very, very important. And the reason why I even have to pull it up is because I don't pay too much attention to it. I mean, yeah, see, now that's refreshing my memory. So at Los Angeles against the Chargers versus Cincinnati at Philadelphia. Even the Jets, like the Jets looked like an easy, clear-cut win, of course. I don't know where that game is even being played, but I don't know if it's at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, so that it's certainly not being played in Denver. But the Jets looked like a pretty like kind of easy win. And then all of a sudden, Justin Fields looked electric against the Steelers. So that sort of changes. And then Giants stink. And then you got the Cowboys, Texans, Raiders, Chiefs, Commanders. So, this is not an easy schedule for the Broncos by any means. And they end the season. They have to play the Packers, obviously the Chiefs, the Chargers. The Jags are okay. But so you got to be able to get this game against the Colts. You want to be 2-0 going up against the Chargers because the Chargers play the Raiders on Monday. You don't have to imagine they're going to win that game. And 2-0 teams, that's massive. I mean, if you start off 2-0, beat two teams in your conference, and then you go to Los Angeles and beat the Chargers, we're talking about the Broncos being legit AFC contenders. But if they don't, I mean, if they lose to the Colts and they're 1-1, and then they go to Los Angeles, it's just you don't want that to happen. So this game against the Colts is one that Denver feels like they've got to get, and they have to be able to beat the teams they're supposed to. The Tennessee Titans game was way too close. Now it's time for them to get it done against the Colts before they have to go up against three very, very difficult teams, especially offensively. I mean, the Eagles are the best team of football. The Chargers are very good. The Bengals defense sucks, but they've still got Burrow, Chase Higgins, Chase Brown, things like that. So it's going to be a tough game. I mean, the last time these two teams played, it went to overtime. So it feels critical that Denver executes against the Colts. But I will say the Colts are a far better team than they were the last time the Broncos saw them. They have a new scheme defensively. They've got a quarterback in Daniel Jones who seems to be pretty competent. Nothing crazy, but compared to like Anthony Richardson and Gardner Minshew, he's definitely an upgrade. But I expect the coverages to be much more tight than they were the last time they played. Lou Anarumo will press you. He'll switch up the schemes and the looks. He makes it tough on you. So Bo Nix is going to have to be ready for that. I mean, going from the Titans to the Colts is a big, big leap. And we'll see if Broncos handle it. But I think the defense does get it done. I do expect the Broncos to win this game. It might not be all that pretty. It might be similar to week one, like 20-12, but it will be something along those lines. But I think the Broncos will put up more than 20. It'll probably be like 24-17 or something like that. One score game. Broncos take care of business. And as much as I do appreciate the Colts, this is one of those games that it's just kind of on the schedule for the Broncos that they know they've got to get to be where they want to be. I mean, given that they have to play the Chargers and the Chiefs twice, and then unfortunately the Eagles, Commanders, like that division's tough. Dallas is going to be solid this season. It almost feels like the Broncos have to get this game because if they don't, it could seriously cost them towards the end of the season.